Welcome, Faith Ministries family, and welcome back as we chronicle the journey of different ones and we prepare for our 50th anniversary in August. Today, I'm so excited because we have a member of the younger generation in Faith Ministries, and with me today is Miss Zoe Nyabadza. Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So, Zoe, you are born in Faith Ministries and you've grown up in Faith Ministries. Talk to us about your journey.
Oh, wow, it's been an interesting journey. As you said, born in Faith Ministries. My earliest memories were at Faith Ministries in Epworth. That's where I recall starting to go to church.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your early life in the church, are there any special memories you have of that time?
Do I have special memories? A couple. I think children's church was a really nice place to be. We used to have a lot of teachers that are very much involved in our lives as children and just us growing spiritually. So that was really, really nice. I remember we used to sing a lot of songs and dance. It was really a good time. So yeah, that's my earliest memories of church. And church was every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Never missed a Sunday.
Well done.
Sundays were actually quite special. It was almost like a tradition. We'd go to church, and then we'd come back home, and that was just like a family day. We'd have lunch, swim, all the most amazing things really. But yeah, Sundays were the best.
That's precious. So, childhood at Epworth Church, and then how did life progress after that?
So after that, we moved to Botswana. But when we moved, Faith Ministries had not been planted yet. So we went to a few churches, for a couple of years, and then Faith Ministries was finally planted, and my parents were pastoring at that church. And yeah, that became our church once again. And then we went to uni in South Africa, and then we were at other churches, but then afterwards we came back home to Botswana Faith Ministries. And shortly after university, I moved back to Zimbabwe, and we all know where I ended up.
Oh, lovely.
Right, yeah, Faith Ministries, yeah.
Okay, so you are not only a born and bred member of Faith Ministries, but you are also a pastor's child.
Yes.
Talk to us about that special journey. We all have this stereotype of pastors' kids. You had, all the ministry that you could have got, and you're taking church home with you and do this church at church. So talk to me about that life, a pastor's child.
Yeah. So being a pastor's child was quite interesting. I think on one end there was having to deal with the expectations of what a pastor's child should be like. There's a lot of perfection and sometimes never room for error. So it was, I guess, it was a little challenging when you were trying to find yourself and find who you are. I think off camera we're just talking about how when it came to just figuring out what my style is, that was an interesting journey because there's trends going on and there's the skirts and of a certain length, and there was also the season of like crop tops, and that season lasted longer than I would have wanted it to, but I guess from that perspective it's definitely tough to an extent because then there was always like the chatter and everything, and it always comes back to you, and you always hear about it.
Okay.
But also, I really love the fact that growing up as a pastor's child, we had grounding, we had roots. So you were, like I said, we were always in church, and somehow, even though there were seasons where it's like, why do we always have to go to church? Somehow there were still seeds that were being planted, and I think I really became a Christian quite early, even though I got baptized later on. But then really when I look back, I feel like I've been a Christian since I was born. And somehow that really has shaped the person and the woman that I am today. And I look back at those moments from when I was younger and I'm like, that was so significant. how we grew up, how we were raised. So yeah, it's definitely been a beautiful journey overall. We always tell our parents that you guys are very lucky, to have kids like us, because we never then really went off tangent, went on a tangent. We were really on the straight and narrow for the most part.
Okay.
The few issues here and there, as you're growing up, right? Behavioral.
Yes.
But yeah, it was good. We had a really good upbringing within the church, and yeah.
So as a pastor's kid, did you ever feel left out of what everybody else can do and what everybody
Absolutely.
else are up to, whether at school, whether at church, whether in the community? And you have 2 other siblings, you say?
Yes. So I've got a twin sister and a younger brother.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you weather that? Did your grounding in the Lord help with that, or did you just have tough parents?
So Mom and Dad, were you guys tough? So it's definitely, you do feel very left out, because as you're growing up, I think I remember especially teenage years, kids are going out, kids are having a lot of fun out there, and they're making friends, and they seem to be having these really cool friendships, but then the spaces that they're in, I remember actually again in high school, there was a science, I was in the science club, and then so they happened to have a science trip. We were going to some farm or something like that, and we were going to do experiments or whatever, and science was fun at the time. Biology was an interesting subject. So I tell my parents about it. I'm like, yeah, guys, I want to go for the science trip, and my parents were always very about school and, so like trips, all of that, we could do that, right?
Yes.
I'm very much invested in being all-round students. So the science trip comes up and I'm very excited about it. I'm like, there's no way they're going to say no. And then I tell my parents about it and they're like, oh no. My dad was like, yeah, you're not going there. I'm like, what? What do you mean when I can't go for the science trip? So I'm very upset about it. But then later on, I actually admitted to my parents that I used to have friends that actually had other plans for what the sciencey trip was going to look like. So obviously when I was young, I didn't tell them.
Yes.
all the things we were going to be up to. But my dad, I grew up with a father that's very discerning.
Okay.
So imagine he already could tell, not seeing this very well.
There's a bit too much excitement.
There's a bit too much, So that was on that end. But even in my adult years, through uni, it would be a very long story. But again, growing up with parents that are very prayerful and are pastors, my dad saved my degree. That's a whole other story. But I will say it now. My dad saved the degree again because of just being people that are prayerful. And so as much as growing up as a pastor's kid had a lot of its down moments and just feeling a little restricted,
yes,
there's also a lot of good that came from it. And I think there's a lot of bad things, so to say, that we never then fell into because of all the sort of slight restrictions that were there. I do like the approach though in parenting. It was never very you should do this, you shouldn't do that. It was just values that were taught that then became innate over time, and really don't see yourself deviating from that as you grow. So yeah.
So you understood the bounds and you started just living within them.
Started living within them. It just became normal. You just knew that you've got to be very intentional about the kind of people that you're around. And thankfully as well, I think when you're taught God is real. That's also where you see the realness of God.
Okay.
Certain things then become just real values for you. So not just your parents' values or your parents' boundaries, but they become your own as well, which has helped a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you're a young adult and you live on your own. So would just say the rope has been cut now. You're free to do all and sundry.
Yeah.
Do you feel that grounding is what actually keeps you?
Oh, absolutely.
For example, you're back in Zim and you're back in Faith Ministries in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Did you feel like it was obvious that I'm going back to Zimbabwe, and therefore I'm going back to
Faith Ministries.
Yes.
Interesting. I think it was. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'd always just looked at how, well, I guess the relationships or the friendships. So we had a few friendships before we left. So to just see all those people now grow up in Faith Ministries and start serving within Faith Ministries, I knew that at least I had some kind of rooting, and I was generally just going to go back to that, because I was starting from scratch in a sense, because I'd never lived here for a prolonged period. But yeah, so I guess the first thing was I had friends that were already here, so that was lovely. But also just the church and the values that we teach, and the fact that it's very word-based. I knew this is home and I cannot go anywhere else. I'd tried other churches maybe, but it was like, no, home. Home is where we belong, and home is where we're going back. Yeah.
Okay, Zoe, tell me about serving in Faith Ministries. Is this something that was imposed on you?
Interesting. Was it imposed? Ooh, I would not necessarily say imposed. It just became second nature.
Okay.
So from the time that Faith Ministries Botswana Faith Ministries was planted, we were the people on ground.
Yeah.
So we had to immediately get into serving. So serving then became second nature. Now every church I've been to, like especially in university, I could not see myself just sitting down at the bench. I had to serve, I had to do something. And it's not really just about it being something that was instilled while growing up. It's as a part of my faith walk and my faith journey, I know that it is important for me to serve.
Yeah.
It's a part of my Christian walk, and I'm so glad that whatever was instilled or imposed, if it was in fact imposed or instilled, because then it's allowed me to be a well-rounded, all-rounded Christian, and just my walk is lovely with God because of it. Yeah,
that's good to know. And in terms of allowing you to grow in your giftings, would you say you felt that Faith Ministries was a good place for you to discover your gifts and actually grow in them?
Yes, absolutely. So initially when I started serving, it was, okay, so these are the ministries. So with my twin, one of you has to be there, one of you has to be there. But I do remember this one time I think it was a workshop that we had where we got to learn actually about the different gifts that you might have, and you had to do an exercise, you have certain questions asked, and you put a number against it, I think from 1 through 10, and then you would then add them at the end, and then somehow there's some linkage to, so you could actually be walking within prophecy, you could be walking within hospitality, you could be walking within ushering. It was a really, really good exercise, and I would say that also helped to really discover where I was fitting in. And then God being God as well, like now I serve at the Bridge with the teens. And God has always been speaking to me about that. So that's good as well. So as much as the church really helped for me to know where I'm supposed to be or where I'm better placed, I love that also the Holy Spirit has been very pivotal in telling me or influencing me in the direction I should go as well. So yeah.
So you love to work with the young people?
Yes, absolutely love it. I feel that that's really where my calling is, with the youngins. Yeah.
That's great. So Zoe, we're anticipating celebrations. How are you feeling about that?
Oh, excited. I remember we traveled down for the 40th anniversary.
Yes.
And that in and of itself was amazing. It was a really good time. I vividly remember that experience. So I can only imagine what the 50th is going to look like. It's probably going to be 10 times bigger.
Well, Faith Ministries family, you've heard it from Zoe herself. It's going to be 10 times bigger, even better. You better be packing your bags, making your plans, putting together all of the arrangements that you want to make to be there on the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th here in Harare for the 50th anniversary of Faith Ministries. God bless you.